actually building a strong foundation is certainly an important thing to do, to think about, and to get right as well. So joining me here on the stage, two people. We're going to have a very... You can come now already. I'll introduce you in a second, but you can sit down already. Right, so we're going to have a healthy, productive discussion, really, again, as I say, building a strong foundation for Gen AI, looking at data quality and governance as well. So joining me here on stage from Senior Partners, David Martineau, and from Oracle, Philippe, Battel, and they deserve a round of applause, although they're already here. Let's go. There we are. Ça marche. So, yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful. Right. So, first of all, thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us today, jumping into this topic. But before we do that, it would be great just to give us a quick minute, 60-second flavour of really what you're doing and why you're on this panel right now with me. Let's go.
Okay. So. Basically, I've been on AI for the last 10 years. I've been in IT for 30 years. Spent 10 years in the US helping startups, was a board member of some of them. My dad was a data scientist, so I like the topic. And I've been working on different cloud providers, Microsoft, Amazon, and now Oracle. I'm the VP Oracle for AI. So I cover AI from the GPU infrastructure, the data science, the AI service, Gen AI, and AI in the apps.
Pretty impressive, I think. So your father was a data scientist. Right, okay. So you grew up in that world. Yeah,
but if you look back, nothing was possible. We didn't have the compute, the data, and all of that stuff. So it's kind of now possible. And now you move to agent AI, you're on mission. It's kind of like moving to the next step. So it's exciting.
If only your dad knew, he probably did know at that stage when he was younger, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm David Martineau. I'm Deputy CEO of CR Partners. So CR Partners is a management consulting firm, so it should be maybe strange to be here, but in fact we have been turning to AI a couple of years ago. So on my side, I'm as well as being a deputy CEO, I'm the leader of the business line we call AI Data and Quantitative, so which is covering all data science, sectorial services, and quantitative services. So I do have a team of 400 data scientists, which is quite nice. The company is 3,000 people, founded 25 years ago, but we already have 400 data scientists, which is a huge thing. So the team has been growing up very fastly. We were 45 years ago. We are now 400 all over the world. And you have people in the data science from Seattle to Perth and from Amsterdam to, I don't know, somewhere in South.
Fantastic. On the screen, in fact, you can see three names, two of those here on stage. The other name, Charlie Perrault, unfortunately wasn't able to be with us this morning due to unfortunate circumstances, which is why I've jumped in.
You are not Charlie, though.
No, I'm not at all. Do I look like Charlie? No, I don't. Maybe. Right. Okay, so there's going to be kind of, in this healthy discussion that we're going to have right now, three kind of parts: data quality, data governance, and Gen AI. So if we start off with data quality. So since ChatGPT was released at the end of 2022, companies seem to have been doing a lot of testing, right? A lot of testing going on naturally, but there hasn't been too much success, right? Why is that? What is the real problem there? Is it a problem of data quality? What would you say?
So if we look, and I will mention our colleague before from McKinsey, who has done a very marvelous article about Gen AI. 70% of CXO says we cannot really go and adopt from pilot to production Gen AI because of the outcome we get. It's not reliable, hallucination, etc., etc. So the data quality is important. The other really important factor of data quality is basically everybody will have access to models. It's more and more open source. So what is really important for you is to keep kind of your data as an asset. There are many things around that. Data as a product, if you do like data mesh type of environment. So what has been a challenge is the data quality itself. And I will take a couple of examples. Let's say if, I think Microsoft just mentioned a travel agency, so I will take that as an example before. So I'm French, I live in Paris, and let's say if you have a website, let's say booking.com, and you want to give recommendation about where people should visit France. But if 95% of the images that you have or information about Lyon, southeast of France, more likely you have a bias, and then information will get out as a Lyon. So you have a lack of data and you have a bias. So it's really important to kind of have weighted type of information. The second thing, you may have like missing data. So we have like DHL as a customer. when you get a package, they kind of sign the paperwork. You have like OCR recognition, and you get the information. But maybe the quality is not the quality that you need to have. So you will need to enrich that data, or you need to kind of fix the error of the signature, the documentation, etc. So there is an important aspect about the quality of the data in this field. The other thing is the structure of the data. Most of the data that you will get will be from different sources. Could be structured data, could be unstructured data. So structured data could be a transaction. Let's say I go to a cashier and I pay and do a transaction. So it's in a database. I have Philippe Battel buy a croissant at this price. It's in a database. Or it could be a photo, something social, an image, a line of code, or something unstructured. The challenge with unstructured data, it's really, really hard to manipulate this information and use that in a format that you can use. So there is like this notion of how can I get a good quality of data and manipulate that? The other thing is you have environment in this quality of data where it's too expensive to get the data. And I will take like nuclear fusion. It's a really interesting aspect. It's really difficult to do real life experience because it's expensive. The plasma is 400 million degrees, too much, etc. So you cannot really manipulate that. So you will have digital twin environment. You have a lack of data, so you will do synthetic data. You will create data. So again, this data is very important, otherwise you don't get the needed outcome. But there are many, many ways to kind of enhance this quality of data to get the a better result of this outcome.
Yeah, I will add a couple of things, not to take the same examples. For sure, data and AI and data science and so on are closely linked, and there is it's not a big news that saying that. Let's say two things. If you look, a long time ago, we were using the data to having algorithms that they were using and that were analyzing this data, and this was techniques, mathematical things, and so on. And based on the mathematical algorithm, we can analyze the data. So for sure, data quality is key for that. If you do have but not good data quality in those things, you will not get any right answer. And if you look at the job of a data scientist, so a long time ago it was existing, it was not called data scientist, but people were doing data mining, statistical analysis, your father and so on. But these people were doing algorithm, models and so on, but they were in fact spending 70% of their time getting the right data, cleaning the data, and 30% of their time doing the model and the analysis. 70-30. So for sure, data quality has always been at the heart of that. We have maybe lost a little bit this kind of thing with when coming to GenAI, because in fact, since ChatGPT, December 22, and so on, we have been seeing two things. First of all, these kind of models were very wide, and we are not needing to have a data scientist close to you to use them. So maybe some people have put their documents in a tool and so on, getting a couple of things that were simple, like no code, no need an algorithm, and after that they're getting an output. They just have done in one click with something which is automated a little bit, the 30% task of a data scientist, but they have not done the 70%. So what they get at the end, I will say shit in, shit out. And definitely, if you do not have the right data quality in the front, you will not have the right answer at the end. So we have been saying that models were hallucinating and so on, trying to find GenAI models that were not finding the relevant data and so on. But it has been hiding a little bit the fact that if you are having not good data, you will not get the right answer, whatever it is. It's two things: availability of the data, and secondly, the way you ensure the quality is good. So we'll speak a little bit later after how to ensure the quality and so on, but definitely we cannot say that data quality is not a thing for GenAI, because these are quite pre-built things. And there has been also, according to me, something which is quite weird if you look at when you are a data scientist, is that we have maybe made a confusion between what we call the large language models, so all the models that are behind the ChatGPT and so on, that are in fact language model, as they are called. That means they understand and they are capable to create sentence because they understand the language. And knowledge database. These algorithms have been trained through a lot of data so that they understand and create language. But they are not themselves a knowledge database. And if you ask a question to this model, to something which is very specific to your company, they will not be able to see anything because they have never seen that, because this was not part of their training thing. So what we do, we put a document in that, and the model itself understands the document because it understands the language, is capable to make a summary. So that's, and this is creating also a confusion about where is the quality of the data. There is the quality of the model to understand what it is, and the quality of the data is on the quality in the document you have been given to it. And there are some data that are not existing and you cannot invent. So for example, right now we are using generative AI models for building some ESG or CSRD reporting in companies. CSRD reporting is freshly new. Nobody has built that before. So there are a couple of data. So there are 1,183 data points on CSRD. So you need to answer 1,183 questions. And there are a couple of questions that have never been answered by anyone in the company because it's a new reporting. So you can put all the documents you have in your company in a tool, ask the 1,000 and more questions, and the general tool will build something. But if the data has never been in any document because it has never been answered to a question, you will never get the good answer. We hope it will not hallucinate. If you say, I don't find, there's a gap. Well, that's all.
I see you nodding there to a lot of what we've just heard there. Tell us.
You know, I think, so you talk about RAG as an example. So if we do a large language model, like in France, we have Mistral, for example, it's a French company, a very high quality model, etc. It's a general purpose, OpenAI, general purpose model. But then if you have, for example, I live in the US, Seahawks could be the football team for Seattle, or could be just the animal. And if you are creating an application for the fan of the football players, they will not like that you mention the animal. Yeah? So I think it's really important to put in context. And so RAG is retrieval augmented generation. So retrieval means when you do a prompt, basically instead of just doing the prompt and get the answer, you get the prompt, then you check that in a vector database, in an index database. There is your company context, so it's a group of file of document. It gets that information, and then it does a new prompt augmented with this information, and then you generate the new answer. And that is something really important because these models are very expensive to train. So if you want to train for your specific company or industry, you have what we call fine-tuning, extremely expensive, and it's static. If you do RAG, it's cheap. So let's say if you are a news company, a multimedia company like Charlie, you want to have the latest information. And so RAG is really low cost, and then you have like the latest information. So there are different things for different purposes, but that's actually something really on fashion these days, really important. And if you think of the cost of the models, it's highly expensive. More and more you will have like smaller models, more specific to a task. And then it will be, instead of having prompt, we have what we call an agent. It will be multitask to get on a mission. And it's going to be very, very important to have the RAG in that context as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe it's the switch to another topic, which is about the governance. Because
I was going to move on to.
Yeah, but that's an interesting point. Because you mentioned you can have wide model and small model, and so we come to data quality. So we could speak about data governance, as you were saying.
Yeah. So I mean, moving on to data governance. So how can companies establish effective data governance practices, especially for generative AI projects? What would you say?
I will just first to say that I will not speak about just only data governance, but also model and system governance, because all is closely linked, definitely. So we have been seeing in all companies architecture or structure organizations to make the data governance since years, because there are data in the heart of all companies since years. We have not been waiting for ChatGPT in December 22 to have data, and so there are already a data governance things, mostly owned by the people that are chief data officer and so on. So there is something, a lot of things what we do as well as consultant, like on data management and so on, that helps data governance. Something is pretty new with that is the fact that we merged a couple of models. So before with descriptive AI, I will say, it was quite simple. You were having a use case, one use case. You are data scientists were building one model to solve this use case. So it was a small model, as you call it before, because it was just dedicated to that use case. But in fact, there were not so many models and so on, because it was not. It was taking time to do that. Now we are facing a context where, thanks to the Gen AI, normal AI and Gen AI are getting on the top of the agenda of the CEOs, and we are trying to have a lot of use cases, and we are seeing in our customers It's like a war for who has the most number of use case, and depends on the granularity, of course, but you will never see anybody that will not say, I have 700, 800, 1,000, 2,000 use cases in my company for AI globally, including the Gen AI. So the point is, what are we going to do with that? Just stick to the Gen AI one. We have two options. The one which is to say, I have a very huge model which is capable to solve all my use cases, my 700, 800 Gen AI use case. Maybe it's a solution. Maybe it's a solution to start anyway at some point. It means that we are going to consume a lot of energy, a lot of things and so on, and you are always fighting to have the greatest model. In this case, the governance is quite simple. I have a model which is solving everything. The point is, how do I make this evolution? And if I want to, I don't know, I use the GPT-4 model, I want to switch to GPT-5, do I switch everything at the same moment? There were some use cases that were working and maybe they will not work anymore because, in fact, the new model is not well adapted to them. But anyway, it's quite simple in terms of governance. It's a little bit difficult to understand who is in the company responsible for that, because it means that somebody is responsible to just getting a model, putting that, and all the rest, they do what they want. And the other opposite, we can say that we can have a lot of models that could be smaller models or very specialized models. There are things that today models are not capable to do. I don't know, we are working for a customer, for example, we have been building a chatbot which is making actuarial calculation. Well, if you ask to ChatGPT actuarial calculation, it doesn't know how to make that, so you have to train a specific model to do that. It's coming from a Mistral one. So for sure, here we need that model. But just suppose for each use case, I'm coming for 700 to 707 models that are like that. So maybe they are smaller, maybe they are smarter, maybe they are consuming less resources, but how do I make governance for that? It's a key point, and today I think everybody is looking in the middle, is not knowing what we are going to do. Are we going to switch to one organization to the other one? And we can add on top of that the fact that companies, and this is very practical and very pragmatic question of model governance, but we can add on top of that we are coming with AI Act and things like that are also saying, oh guys, you need to make sure that do you have a high-risk system, how do you make the governance, and so on and so on. And so it's create another layer which is more strategical, I would say, a little bit less operational, but you create also a couple of constraints for that. So in what the people are doing today, most of the companies are having a list of use case, a list of system, and especially to say in which category they are, maybe in high risk or not, depending on the AI Act, and a couple of risks, and I would say an AI committee that will create the governance with a specific AI committee, and this is what the people are doing today. But they have not solved, and we have not solved the fact of, do we need a lot of models, do we need one model, and how are we going to make the governance at this moment?
So what I'm just hearing there, so it's really a question of choosing the right model and simplifying it, making it simple and making sense of what's right for the right company, right?
On governance, I will look. So we have about 2,000 customers that have Gen AI pilots. The one moving to production, I think, like what Eric Hazan was mentioning, is less. So the adoption at production is less, a couple of hundred, but full production, I would say, even lower. I would put 4 categories. I would say the people aspect, the process aspect, the technology, and the risk and the cost. And I will share some stories on that. So on the people aspect, you have 3 ways. You could have a centralized approach, means you keep your divisions, your line of business, but then you have a central team, like a center of excellence of people who have expertise to help you on Gen AI. Second thing is federated, so each group has a little bit, and then you have the central. And then you have the one very decentralized. Everybody basically has its own team of Gen AI. Let's say entity A, B, C, decentralized company, like NG, for example. I could have that. The pros and the cons is if you are very decentralized, then you can be really close to the business, so have something very adapted to your Gen AI needs in that entity. The cons is then you may have overlaps, conflicting tools, etc. And then you go on the other way, it's the exact opposite. Yeah? So that's, I would say, on that. And on the people aspect, one of the challenges is the skill sets. And that's why Microsoft has been so successful, because if you already use Microsoft products, then you just have an add-on on these capabilities. In our case at Oracle, we have used Cohere as a model in our products, in our business application. So people stay in the business application they use every day. And then basically they have GenAI capabilities for, let's say, supply chain. What is the best supplier for you? Or you can get in advance a summary of how you will best do a negotiation. So that's on the people aspect. Then you will have on the process is how you integrate GenAI with your IT projects, line of business priorities and IT projects, because many of the POC are successful. You have a bunch of guys excited about GenAI, but then your corporation has other priorities, and then it's not going to full production because it's not in the standards, compliance framework of the entire corporation. So that's quite important to do that. And process is also about the selection of maybe 5, 10, 15, I think you mentioned that, top solutions to cover 80% of your use cases. I think Gartner has this kind of matrix of what is the feasibility and the benefit of what you get out of that. So let's say you have 200 use cases, maybe you will select the one with the fastest ROI on what you decide, the fastest, easiest to do, and so on and so forth. So I think that's kind of the governance. When you look at the technology, there are choices that are more fundamental than others. If you select a cloud provider, could be Oracle, could be Google, could be whatever, that is sticky. And your data stack, it's longer term. You don't change overnight. You could decide to be multi-cloud, but at the end of the day, there is more stickiness. But the good news is the LLM, the agent, it could be just an API call. So you could have hundreds of them. What is important is that your technology allows you to get the new ones. Because will you build, will you use a small model, an open model, a closed model, etc.? You don't know. Innovation is going to come probably faster in the cloud than on-premise, but maybe because of regulation, you will need to be on-premise. And if you think at the cost, I need to be careful on time, but if you look at the cost and the privacy, I think we talk about hallucination. We took, for example, the EU AI Act, Llama 3.2, challenge to be in Europe because of that. So you need to have the ability to deploy on-premise in the cloud, and you want to have the ability to select and adapt to the new regulation that can pop up in different geography of your business. Yeah.
Again, nodding a lot to what was said there.
Yeah, but just to thought about that, because with all what you said, what things which is coming clearly, and it's maybe not said, but if we go see it like a technical thing, and we have been at the emergence of ChatGPT 2022. At this moment, we have been saying, okay, everyone should test, and we have been saying to our customer, you should test whatever you don't know what to do with it. You should test it because it's a revolution. It's not technically a revolution, but it's a revolution of usage. But now, after a couple of years after that, a couple of months after that, we are back to the normal way of doing the things. That means first the use case. And if you get the use case, you will find technology and get the revenue and get the value. Because the only point is if there is a big discrepancy between the number of proof of concept and the number of go live things, it's because a couple of things have just been technical proof of concept with nobody trying to find a use case and a kind of revenue. So it means as well, and in the governance, we should involve the people who have the use case and we are getting the revenue of that and the return on investment.
David, Philippe, I mean, this is a conversation which I'm sure can just continue. And again, just to let you know, again, you're curious, you'd like to know more, you're intrigued, you'd like to challenge perhaps David or Philippe on what they've been sharing here on the stage. Again, I'm sure you're here today. You are here today. Grab a coffee, have a chat together, and then see what you can go forward with your conversations. But just finishing off this healthy, productive discussion that we're having right now here on stage. If there was one main piece of advice in terms of building the right foundation, what advice would you give to our audience right now?
So I would say to each of us, play with the tools because they're going to evolve, change, and so on and so forth. It's going to really go fast. So for our own future, I have teenager kids. What study should they do? And I like the session we have about the future. So I think it's really important to know all of us will be augmented. We need to embrace that because it's going to be around. And then how do you move from pilots to production is all about being integrated in your traditional business. Nothing new. I mean, it was like the same of adoption of the cloud, of the web or whatever. But the pace is faster. So deciding upfront on kind of like an organization, how you're going to skill the people is more important. And then the technology kind of going to evolve really, really fast. So it's kind of like my advice there. Yeah.
So for me, it's very simple. It's what I said before on the use case, and the use case. But for sure, if you have a couple of use cases on idea and you don't know how to do it, there are a lot of people. So some of them are here that could help on things and the way to make it concrete. But definitely, if you can try. But at the end of the day, if you want to have something that goes to production, which is a real return on investment, it should fit a use case.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you'll agree it's been a healthy, productive discussion here on stage. David Martineau, Philippe Battel, thank you so much.